what is it that you want to define transformative growth as, and how is it different from a normal economic growth?
There is probably very few other countries where the youth is so aspirational. सबको कुछ करना है. Everyone wants a life significantly better than what the father had. Everybody is striving, everybody is growing. That's the youth which is really hungry.
So what do you expect from this budget, and what should a common investor,
Right.
हमारे जैसा एक कॉमन
हाँ जी,
आदमी
right,
है
right.
जो इन्वेस्ट करता है, वो इस बजट से क्या एक्सपेक्टेशन रखे, हम जानना चाहते हैं. जैसे आपने बोला कि AI, India was not participating in AI innovation. India may participate in AI deliverables. Was this the main reason why FIIs were shying away from India and they were mainly deploying in US markets because of the AI being centered into US and Korea and Taiwan?
तो बॉस अपने धंधे में मोस्ट इम्पोर्टेंट थिंग इज इन्वेस्टर शुड बी आज नहीं तो कल सब ठीक हो जाता है. पैसा तो आ ही जाता है. मनी देयर इज नो शॉर्टफॉल ऑफ. व्हाई नाउ बिकॉज जो इन्वेस्टर अब आएगा एक तो ठोक बजा के आएगा. पहले तो बिकॉज काफी नशा उतर गया है.
2026 में आपको क्या दिख रहा है? Is it going to be the year of growth? Is it going to be the year of having good returns on the table? Any factors that will play in 26 that you see are going to be star performers in this year? Hello viewers and welcome to Returns and Beyond from Wealth One. My name is Narender Agarwal and I'm going to be your anchor for the day. Returns and Beyond brings you the best of the fund managers in the world of PMS and AIF, get their experience online and get how to create wealth. So in this episode, we have a very special person, a person who has got a wealth of knowledge, a wealth of experience. So we would like to welcome Mr. Shahzad Madon, who is the MD, CEO, and the fund manager at TCG Asset Management Company. And he has been part of an illustrious 3 decades career in the wealth management space, starting his career with ICICI Group, later going on to become the head at ICICI Prudential. He moved on to Reliance Asset Management Company, which was later named as Nippon India, and now heading TCG Asset Management. So welcome Shahzad to our show, and I'm sure that with your experience, the viewers are going to take back a lot today.
Thank you, Naren. Thank you for having me here, and thank you for your very kind words. I look forward to this conversation.
Thank you so much for taking out time, and I'm sure that not only the viewers, I'm going to learn a lot from your experience, sir.
Ditto. I'm sure this will be enriching for both of us.
Thank you. So let's move on to the questions directly,
Sure.
okay? And we see that you are heading TCG Asset Management, and your fund is called Transformative Growth, and you also say that India is going to see a transformative growth in the next 10 to 15 years. And India is poised, all the macros are in place. So first of all, what is it that you want to define transformative growth as, and how is it different from a normal economic growth?
Okay. So I try to tie this into, look at it the following manner. So first when you look at the definition of economic growth, it would be, how do you get that? So it is your factors of production, which would be land, labor, capital, entrepreneurship. So that's the economic definition. 2 things I would like to highlight. So land is nothing but the resources. We are fairly well endowed. Labor is, we've got a young population, but young population per se doesn't mean anything. They could also be misdirected and create a lot of nuisance as they do in various countries. Then there is capital and capital availability and entrepreneurship. But let me focus on 2 things which I believe will really make a difference. The first point is, when you look at our population, not just is it young, I think when you look at it being as aspirational. There is probably very few other countries where the youth is so aspirational. सबको कुछ करना है. Everyone wants a life significantly better than what their father had. Everybody is striving, everybody is growing. That's the youth which is really hungry, right? Now, tied it into this entrepreneurship and the other thing, which is the availability of capital. There is no economy, I repeat, no economy in the world which at this level of per capita GDP, which is we are at $3,000 per capita GDP, at this level of per capita GDP, the risk capital which is available to us, which is to grow the businesses, which is either through equity or on the public equity or on the private side, is quite unmatched. So when you have a very, very entrepreneurial set of people, young people, जिसको कुछ कर दिखाना है, they're really, really hungry, right? And you have capital availability, growth is almost inevitable, right? So when you look at it, all other things which we all know, I do believe that we are going to have we've already had last few very good years. You're going to have a very, very good future going forward. Leadership, if you look at it, the leadership is strong, is good, and hopefully that will continue. But more important is that when you look at the underlying people, when you are hungry and when you are determined to do something, aapko लोग कर देंगे boss. So I am very confident that this will happen. And what we mean by transformative growth, when you look at it, see let's take the last few years. If you look at the last few years, how many new sectors have come into being, right? Private sector insurance started 25 years ago. It did not exist prior to this, right? अगर आप asset management business पे देख लो, अगर so many years back,
25 years
25-ish years ago, look at on both say insurance and AMC side, how much wealth they've created, right? Actual wealth creation, not just for their investors, for shareholders, everybody. You look at, let us call it the healthcare space. अब कितना growth हुआ वो healthcare space में? You know, look at the amount of hospitals, look at the money we've attracted, look at the amount of private hospitals, look at the improvement in healthcare, on, you know, everything from hospitals to diagnostic systems and so on. You know, it is shocking. We take quick commerce. We had the results of Zomato Blinkit. I mean, the quick commerce part, 11,000 crores in a quarter for a business which virtually didn't exist a few years ago. That's the sort of growth and the potential which is possible. So you have capital, you have great entrepreneurship. We see no reason why transformative growth won't happen. So we see that happening, and our transformative growth portfolio is, of course, investing only in listed stocks. But the endeavor is to go out and try to pick those stocks where we believe which we will have, not just normal earnings growth, but the potential for, let's call it, something where you could have a leg up more than the normal growth, as well as we try to pick them as what is available at reasonable valuations. So that's what we mean by transformative growth. There are enough opportunities, there are enough new sectors which are coming in. You know, it's like this, we will be only limited by our ability and imagination. I don't think anything else. Opportunity. That's the way I see it.
So how I take it is that you're more inclined towards the new age businesses. They are going to take the lead, and the older businesses may not scale that high. Is what you are hinting at?
No, if I've given you that impression, then maybe that was not there are opportunities everywhere. So if we look at a portfolio, which we can also talk about that, you look at stocks, we've got something in the print media too. Now, print media is as traditional, as old, and probably, as people say, कि अब growth ना होना. But we've got companies there. We've got companies which are in the more, allied to the hospital business. We've got engineering businesses. We've got all sorts. It's not necessarily new age businesses as in digital or tech. We may have a few of them, but there are opportunities all across. So it's not necessary that it is, let's call it, new age or focused on technology necessarily. All businesses use technology, but it's not to mistake it for an internet business or so. Yeah.
Okay, so taking a cue from what you said about the government and the leadership being very strong, and they are taking the right steps in the right directions, and that is kind of fueling the hunger that the newer generation is having. Yeah, and it's kind of playing out in the way that it's laying out the platform for them.
I'd put it this way, that the hunger has has been there. It's been there for a long time. Earlier it was maybe that people who had that hunger went to the US in 70s and 80s because you couldn't probably express yourself in that manner here. So you went out and did extremely well for yourself in, let us say, the developed markets. So you know that. Everybody knows how well Indians have done all over the world. But now with this leadership also, and whatever else I mentioned, you get the opportunity to express yourself in this country. That's the point. So wo underlying bhook aur aag, वो शायद मतलब थी 1970 से थी, but अब you are now it's manifesting itself locally.
Because now we have the right platform sitting here.
I believe so. Yeah.
या सो अगर अभी हम अपना थोड़ा सा फोकस
हाँ जी.
गवर्नमेंट की तरफ लेके
Right.
जाएं और बजट इज
Right.
जस्ट राउंड द
Sure,
कॉर्नर
sure.
ओके we have seen that the government
Right.
has been giving a very nice budgets throughout, having focus on the capex,
Right.
having focus on defense,
Right.
having focus on the manufacturing,
Right.
supporting the industry.
Correct.
Also supporting the common man with
हाँ जी.
the income tax cuts,
Correct.
the rate cuts coming in,
Correct.
GST cuts coming
Yes.
in. We have seen all this. So what do you expect from this budget?
Okay.
And first, what do you expect? And what should a common investor,
Right.
हमारे जैसा एक कॉमन
हाँ जी.
आदमी
Right.
है
Right.
जो इन्वेस्ट करता है, वो इस बजट से क्या एक्सपेक्टेशन रखे, हम जानना चाहते हैं.
Okay. So, see, the budget, in my view, will only be a continuation of how the government has expressed itself over a period of time. Let me tell you what I mean. If you look at what the government has done, they've really, let's say, second term mainly of this government, they've actually gone for growth, if you look at it. And more so for the last, let's say, since the beginning of 2025. You've had that new RBI governor come in at some point in time, just post-election or in the period of election, there was a tightening both on fiscal side as well as on the monetary side. But very clear from the beginning, roughly, it's not exactly a calendar date, from the beginning of 2025, they've been going for growth. Right, so every arm of the government, and RBI is not an arm of the government; it's a separate. But whether it is the RBI, the monetary policy, or the central government, if you look at every single step is taken to promote growth. Right, that is something which I believe will continue. Right, it happened in the budget of the previous year. I believe this budget will be a continuation. So when you look at a few things which will see, firstly, to the they have managed the fiscal extremely well. We are probably one of the very few countries who has been so disciplined in managing the fiscal, and it's very difficult because all over the world, including developed countries, are being so indisciplined. So, अरे सब मस्ती कर रहे तो मैं भी कर लूँ. But they have been extremely disciplined, and that's wonderful. I think that will continue. I do not see any let up on that. Two, will there be a focus on creation of infrastructure as well as on defense? I think very strongly so. Right, I do not believe there will be any let up on that side.
So that
right?
means capex and defense will be
I
part
would believe
of,
so.
of
I
the
would
budget.
believe so.
Okay.
That is our belief that it would certainly continue for various reasons. As you know, a strong country whether comes only from economic strength. अब जो भी है देश है, whether it is US or whether it is China, they may have strong militaries, etc. But at the end of the day, that comes from strong economics. आपके पास पैसे हो, तो you can do a lot of other things other than the technology. So that I think is very clear that there will be, in our view, focus certainly on the, call it on the investment side of it, as well as, so which is the infrastructure part, etc., as well as on the defense part. So those things I think will continue. We will be fairly disciplined, which will be always good for interest rates, because you don't want a government being extremely profligate, because that would only serve to increase interest rates. We think that bit will work out very well. What else? I don't think there might be too many freebies. I mean, at least they've been fairly disciplined. Obviously, all political parties, need to do well in the election. That's the fundamental premise. But otherwise, I think all this will go extremely well, and it will be another step. See, actually, it's a continuation of the overall process of going for growth. Because you need that economic strength, you need that growth. And, ultimately, what do people want at the end of the day? It is higher per capita income here. At the end of the day, if we say we are a successful country, though आपकी per capita income जो भी है आज, it should move up over a period of time. And that is what it is. That's happening, and I would imagine that will continue to happen. That's the way it is.
Yeah, and we have seen in the election year also, the government did not give a populist budget. It was more on capex, more on infra building, more on defense.
Correct.
So I believe that what you are saying should continue. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
So let's see how it goes, of course.
Of course, and we're keeping our fingers crossed.
Perfect.
Okay, so now just turning the focus on to the transformative growth
right.
Portfolio. and seeing how it has performed. Okay, it's been around 15 months for your
Correct.
PMS to be there, and we have seen that it is not performed. It's underperformed the benchmark. Number one.
Okay.
But not blaming that, 2025 has been a flat year.
Okay.
Okay. For everyone.
Correct.
Yeah. So I need to understand this. Being a small cap, okay, focused first, is that what did you see in 2025? Why was this a year of flatness when we see Nifty, when we see the small cap index, or also we when we compare to the macros, like what you said, capex led,
Correct.
defense, infrastructure,
Right.
government supporting, youth is hungry for growth. All the things when we look at India as the macro, everything looks
Perfect.
perfect.
Yeah.
But the 2025 did not work.
Correct.
And again, when we see the global markets,
Right.
okay, Nasdaq,
Right.
Dow Jones,
Yep.
Kospi, everyone is hitting all-time highs. Yeah. So what went wrong with India in this particular calendar year,
Fair.
January 25
Yes.
to December 25?
Yes. Okay. So, various questions. One is, of course, on the larger on the economy, Jan 20, what's happened in, let's say, 2025. Why have the markets behaved the way they are? That's one. And two, then a little bit on transformative growth and how is it done in this environment.
Yeah.
So for that, maybe I'll tell you a little bit about transformative growth itself before we come there.
Sure.
So first, let's start with addressing what happened since, let us say, what happened in 2025, right? And why did, so to speak, market go nowhere? Okay. I think very important, we have to see the starting point. Okay. So when you look at the starting point, so firstly, different ways of looking at this. If you look at the starting point as being, let's say, June of 2020 to date, even now, we would, I believe, be the second best performing market after the US, right? So and at that point in time where we probably peaked, which would be September 2024, I believe, right? We were a spectacular performer. Large caps, okay, but mid and small cap, very, very strong performance. So very important is the starting point. You're right, आप क्या भाव पे enter कर रहे हो, right? So that's one point. That is one part of it. But fundamentally what happened was, while you were getting into the elections, obviously there is a focus on the election. So on the government spending, etc., there was, let's call it, getting the foot off the pedal. Plus RBI at some point in time was extremely focused on, let's say, everything from controlling inflation to there was a point in time where they felt, especially in the MFI and the smaller loans, there were issues, so they came down fairly heavily on that. So both things, government spending, which was a big leg of expenditure, let's say, took the foot off the pedal, and the RBI, let us say, was quite heavy on the brakes in terms of liquidity. So when you look at these two things which happened, right, and you had valuations which were not exactly cheap, right, on that side, what you had is a period of earnings growth, more so in, let's call it, the small caps, etc., therefore moderating. So you had earnings growth moderating, valuations at a high level. Overall macro for the country, in my opinion, almost cannot be better. I'm saying almost cannot be better.
So हम लोग best phase of India में
I
हैं.
believe so. I believe so.
Okay.
Right? अब question ये हुआ है कि फिर आप क्या भाव पे क्या चीज ले रहे हो? Right? That is it. So it's a starting point because of the spectacular rally you had in the last some time. Was, let's put it this way, was challenging. So that's the first point. Nothing else ails the country. Even when I look at it today, right? Again, underlying, it cannot be better. I don't think we've ever seen such good macros. What I think might change at this point in time, is that you've had a lot of steps, especially which I touched upon from 2025, both taken by RBI. So you've had 1.25% of rate cuts which have happened, a lot of liquidity infusion which has happened, as well as you've seen all the steps which you alluded to, which is first you had, in the earlier budget, the income tax cut, which put a lot of money in people's hand. Now you had the GST cut, which is there. You will have the 8th pay commission also coming in the next some time, right? So when you look at all these things to put together, a lot of steps have been taken by the government, other than support, which is there for the manufacturing industry, etc. So government has been, in fact, front-loaded a lot of the capex in FY26. So all of that coming through, I would believe now that starting this quarter, first 2 quarters of this year were, let's call it modest or poor in terms of earnings की बात कर रहा हूँ. Earnings की बात कर रहा हूँ. I think things should pick up reasonably well in Q3 and Q4. अब report card आ रही है हमारी, so Q3, Q4 में.
Okay.
I think things should start getting better there because you see some of the steps which you've taken. Now, while I mean, they say the GST cut, it has reflected very almost immediately in auto sales, but it has not reflected in a lot of other things. Maybe with some lag it might, right? So a lot of these steps also, they take time to come into the system. So I would believe that from the, let's call it from the quarter which the current quarter results December, and more so as we go ahead, you would start see earnings growth come through, which might make the market look, a little in that sense better because a few things have happened. One is that for the last, actually from September 2024 to date, while, Nifty is, broadly there, the pain in the mid and small cap is quite immense, right? So if you look at it, even on an index level, it will be down 10-12%. But if you look at the median stock, that would be more than 25% in that vicinity. So there's actual a significant amount of impact which you've had in terms of, one is time correction, two price correction. So earnings growth come through, which doesn't mean that everything is cheap. It's not, right? On the small cap space, it's not, especially it's not cheap yet. We'll say that. But that said, it's becoming more reasonable. And as earnings growth come through, people will also have confidence in what's happening in the future. So we believe that might, let's put it this way, change things going forward in the way people look at it. There was one more question which you asked, which was, the world is doing well and, we aren't doing very well, which is of course a statement of fact. Markets like Korea, etc., 40% ऊपर है, हम तो ऐसे ही पड़े हैं, very depressing. But I guess, again, you have to look at it what's your starting point. If you look at it last 12 months, 15 months, that's what you'll see. If you look at it last 5 years, I don't think you'll see the same picture. So it's, markets go wane, wax. That's the way markets are. That is, of course, the AI play, which we all know. So the AI play, and India is not considered a participant, at least at this phase in the AI play, which was more hardware, building out the AI assets. So, which is the winners are, of course, what's happening in the US, of course. But other than that, also the people who are, those who are, so which is primarily Taiwan, Korea, and a few Vietnam, and so on and so forth, China too. Right? But our sense is that, as you come, as maybe there will be some moderation in that phase. There will be. Everything will moderate at some point in time. And it's not as if India is not a participant in it there. And, a lot of people, especially on the IT side, also say we won't. But I think when it comes to actual implementation, I would think we should benefit a fair amount in our thing. So as our market becomes more reasonable, earnings growth comes through, globally, थोड़ा नशा वहाँ का AI का उतर जाता है for whatever reasons. There could be various reasons for that. I think India would look a lot more attractive, is my view.
So, sir, जैसे आपने बोला कि AI, India was not participating in AI innovation. AI, India may participate in AI deliverables. So was this the main reason why FIIs were shying away from India and they were mainly deploying in US markets because of the AI being centered into US and Korea and Taiwan?
That would be, you are correct, but that would be more of a 2025-ish phenomenon, right?
Yeah,
but
exactly.
But when you look at even the years prior to that, they've been selling. But I guess they've been selling because a few reasons is that valuations in their view did get maybe excessive relative to whatever else was there. So they started moving to China, and maybe, the China move happened after DeepSeek, where people started in China, started to believe, boss, even China is doing extremely well in the, call it in the AI space. But that certainly is one reason. That's certain. See, all this, Narendra, we've been around for long enough to know ये सब cycle में होता है. जब होता है तो लगता है, oh बाप रे, end of world. But, it all reverses. It all
और वही
reverses.
seasoned investor तो वही है कि wait करता है इस dip का या इस kind of correction का.
So it will happen.
Absolutely. आपने एक और बहुत interesting बात करी कि आपका जो PMS है,
Yes.
that is small caps
Yes.
centric.
Yes.
और small caps इस समय सस्ते नहीं है,
Right.
महंगे हैं.
Correct.
So how are you coping up with that?
Okay.
And what there was a study that I did that if you divide small cap with the Nifty,
Right.
okay, it stays in the 0.3 to 0.6 band.
Okay.
And if it is above 0.6, it's extremely expensive.
Right.
And at 0.3, it is a good buy.
Right.
Currently, it is at 5.58 somewhere.
Okay.
Okay, and yes, that proves that it is expensive.
Right.
So still, you want to be in that portfolio?
So sorry, what you were referring to was as a valuations of small cap relative to Nifty. Is that
Yes.
what you were saying?
Yes.
Okay. So maybe, if you permit me, I would just step back and tell you a little bit about the transformative growth portfolio.
Sure.
Right? Because it's useful. So what are we doing in the transformative growth portfolio? So it is what we call high growth. So it's what we call private equity like, but it's public markets, but private equity like investment approach. And we'll tell you what we mean by private equity like. So we are trying to find high growth companies, right, which we can, at reasonable valuations, what is reasonable we'll come to, which we can buy and hold for a long period of time. Right? This is a tried and tested strategy. It was done earlier by a fund manager, Vivek, at his earlier employer. So it's worked very well in the past. Fairly disciplined strategy. So what do we do? Here we are seeking to create a portfolio, 15 to 20 stocks on a PMS, which we believe will, let's put it this way, which can deliver that outsized growth, right? We look at various themes which we have. So you may have seen we have a lot of companies in the engineering space. We have a lot of companies in the auto space. We have a few in the IT-ish type space, where we believe will give that delivery of earnings, right? So when we say private equity, like, what do we mean? And that's the distinctive part, right? So one is we have a few stocks. It's very concentrated, right? So our holdings would typically be 5 to 7%. Hence you have, only 20-ish, 15 to 20 stocks in that. The diligence involved is extremely deep, right? Because the holding period, which we have done in the past when you've seen this strategy, has been close to 4 years. Actual 4 years. It's the longest holding period which I know of, right, in any strategy. Average. Of course, there are stocks which have been held for even longer and some for a shorter period of time. But when you look at an average holding period that long, it means that you have to do a lot of due diligence, because if anything can go wrong in a 4-year period, more so in the mid and small cap space, it will go wrong, right? So you have to have deep conviction, deep belief that this will work. So it's a very, very, very deep amount of due diligence which we do. In many cases, not all, we have done forensic study too. We employ different agencies to do forensic study on the company, such that we have a good understanding of what's going on inside. And today you can do it very digitally. There are agencies who do it, right? Deep due diligence is one thing. Highly concentrated, long holding periods, right? And we play a few themes, and then when we believe in that, we back that very, very strongly. We think the way the market is, see, what is small cap? Small cap is everything outside the top 250 stocks, right? So if you look at it, आपके small cap तो आप समझ लो 1,500 small cap है जिससे आप choose कर सकते हो. And small cap doesn't necessarily mean bad company, not just by market cap small cap, because there are very many companies we can tell you which are small, but in their respective space they are leader. They are high ROE, they throw out cash, have little debt on their book. So, yes, maybe they are small in size, but they are very, I would put it, strong companies in their own right. And we can go through the various companies which we own. And if you look at our portfolio, some of the things which you will see is as follows. Our companies in the past have delivered, let's say last 5 years, the companies we hold in our portfolio, 27% earnings growth. This is historic. Our belief is that these companies will deliver about 25% going forward, partly because of base effect, but 25% for the next 3 years. That's our view. High ROE companies, ROE of our companies on an average is for the current period is around 17. So it's high ROE. Debt equity is about 0.2, which would mean debt ही नहीं है. So companies are growing. They are growing by internal accruals. They are not using debt to grow. Okay. And what else? So high ROE, high growth companies, low debt, valuations are fairly, in our view, reasonable for the growth. So you're buying them at 1 PEG because you're looking at about 26 PE 2027. That's the valuation which we see. So relative to the growth we are delivering, we believe we have a portfolio which is reasonably valued. One very important thing I'll stress upon is, see, when you look at any company which has imploded, which has gone under, there can be only 2 reasons for that happening. One is excessive debt, right? And two is corporate governance. बाकी कोई कारण नहीं है. So if you take care of those two aspects, and we are very focused on both. Debt, I've told you, most of our companies, in fact, those small, have actual cash on their book, right? If you take care of those two things from a fundamental perspective, the company may do poorly, but it cannot go under. It will not implode on you. It cannot do that 90% fall and so on. It may underperform, it may not do as well as you think, but you won't have that. And we're very focused on protecting our downside. Okay? So that's number one. And we were also, of course, very focused on corporate governance. So God willing, so far, everything's been very well. Now to come to your point is that, when I myself am saying small caps are not cheap, then why are you launching something in that space? Okay, there are many ways of seeing it. And one is, in many ways, Naren, I'm very happy we launched at this time. And I'll tell you what I mean by that. See, I wear different hats. I wear business hat and I wear fund manager hat. So when you wear the, see, from a business hat, if I had launched, say, in Jan 24, I'm sure you would have got more money, right? Compared to what we are raising today. Would I have had happy investors? I don't think so, right? Because, okay. On the other hand, today you have a period where you have time, you are buying, you're coming in very comfortably, you have time to study, you're doing your work. Acha hai. It's bad from a fundraising perspective, but very good from actual building a track record. Or dekho boss, apne dhande mein, most important thing is investor should be, you have to communicate to your investor what you intend to do. Communicate very clearly what are the risks in your product, and then you try to deliver on that. And if you have a set of happy investors, आज नहीं तो कल सब ठीक हो जाता है, पैसा तो आ ही जाता है, money there is no shortfall of. So I am in that way very happy, which this is the case. This is the right time to be building it out. थोड़ा और दुख हो सकता है, that's super. I'm saying sorry, it's not a good thing to say, but that's super because this is the opportunity to build out the portfolio at this point in time. And our sense is, when you actually, that's another thing I didn't tell. One of the very, very important things, the way we built out this portfolio, and this is a very unique thing in our approach. This is another very unique thing. When you look at the period, see, we started on October 11th, 2024. The employees, the senior employees, so Vivek, Gopal, myself, we first put in our money, we started. Yeah? When we did that, if you look at the way we built it out, and we've got some graphs in there, the way we built it out, our portfolio, we've built it very gradually. Like first day, I remember 2 stocks and about 8. And then, Feb of 2025, market corrected. We went more. Now, this is not a cash call. This is a call of buying stocks at prices which we believe we should be able to make a return. No, we may not, and we could be wrong. Ye bhi ho sakta, matlab, who says we have to be right? Right? But the way we built it out, in our view, is actually very unique because our genuine focus is, boss, ye bhav pe lenge, apni earnings growth ye hogi. So we do believe there is a reasonable possibility of of the stock giving X return. That's the way we do it. It's not ke paise aage apne ko lagane, right? So we've been very, let's say, selective, careful in buying stocks, which we think has helped. So now to answer your question, why now? Now because जो investor अब आएगा, एक तो ठोक बजा के आएगा, पहले तो because काफी नशा उतर गया है, so to speak. You get the right sort of investor. You have time to invest, right? And if God willing, we have bought the right stocks, etc. Over a period of time, the returns can be, I don't want to use handsome or whatever, but we can deliver as per what we would, as per the good returns to our investors. Okay, I'll also take this opportunity because you had mentioned, and I didn't address it then, how has the strategy done in terms of performance? So, when we started since, like I said, 11th October 24, since that point in time to date, the Nifty is flat. When you look at the 500 to flattish almost, but you look at the look at the small cap index and micro cap index, it's around 10 and 12% down, right? As per, let's put it this way, as per PMS, we have to choose the certain benchmarks. 500 is the most appropriate benchmark. which we have as what is mandated by SEBI.
But actually, it is not representing what your
What
portfolio
we're
is.
doing,
Yeah.
which is closer to the micro cap or the mid cap index. Though we don't like to say we are micro cap, we like to say we are actually bottom up stock because the opportunities happen to be in that space, right? We are roughly, I think, 1% down when those indices are told you are close to
10% down.
10% down.
So that means you've actually preserved the capital for
we've
your
done,
investment.
in our view, fairly well for ourselves, right? So you can, it's early days. See, 15 months is too short a period, right? And see, kya hai, investment mein we have to be very careful because whatever we say can be famous last words. Aap aaj bolo, tomorrow morning you have egg on your face, right? So I always believe you should always be very, very modest in this business because kal kya hoga, Bhagwan jane, right? So, but so far so good. 15 months.
It's a journey that is building up.
Yeah.
And hopefully it will be a good performing
God willing.
PMS.
Yeah. God willing.
Okay, so let's change our focus to the sectors that you're
Sure.
holding and some of the companies or the stocks that you're holding, and what's the rationale behind it. So we see that auto and auto components has a significant part of your portfolio. We see ZF Commercial there delivered decent returns in the last 1.5 years.
Yes.
Okay, but auto and auto components, what's the rationale that you're looking at when you're selecting a stock or the sector?
Okay, can I, if I was to just, I'd say, when you look at that, I'm extending it a bit. You see a lot of engineering in there. So auto is also an engineering product, right? So in auto, for example, we've got, of course, ZF, as you mentioned. We've got a company, Carraro, right? It listed recently. We've got SJS, right? We've got that company. We've got a fair amount of engineering companies too, Josh Engineering. We've got Pitti. So if I look at the engineering space too, between that would be the predominant component. I think the underlying theme is pretty similar in that space. Is a space which, we look at various themes too. Is a space where we're very positive on. Right? So we do believe that you have very many companies. I can get into each of them, but I'm just giving the broader perspective. Each of them have their own individual story. They're not a replication of each. Each of them have their own story, which is partly domestic, import substitution, as well as export. Right? So all those stories are there, and we believe that the overall, for various reasons, I can't use the word there is a manufacturing revival here, but there is certainly an improvement over what had happened earlier. Certainly an improvement over what was there for various reasons. So we do believe that space will do very well. Now we can get into each of those stocks. For example, everyone has a different story. Now, what is the story of ZF? And I'll tie it into our theme too. So ZF is ZFCV. ZF is a German group. This is one of the companies which is listed. They have a lot of unlisted companies. This makes braking systems for HCVs, for heavy commercial vehicles. Okay, ZF acquired this company. It was earlier Vapco. So if you know that, right? Two things are likely to happen here. Two things. One is that, of course, ZF is moving into the LCV space. So that's another market which they're catering to. That's one thing. HCV cycle now happens to be picking up, but that's more a recent phenomenon. But the very important thing what we're seeing is that, and this is the sort of thing what we say transformative growth. यार पहले मतलब आप क्या कर रहे हो, आप कंपनी ले रहे हो जो ट्रक की ब्रेकिंग सिस्टम बना रही है, तो आप बोले यार इसमें क्या बड़ी बात है. But when you look at what's happening on the safety systems, right, that's the interesting part. So by regulations in commercial vehicles, right, especially the passenger commercial vehicles first, and then you are having more and more safety requirements there. So as even you see commercial vehicles getting bigger, which they are, the safety requirements are going up. Now these are high-tech product, what is called ADAS, etc., which is basically everything from lane control. So, you have a more premium vehicle, you will know that they will have anything from lane control to, various features to automatic braking, etc., which is really what these systems do. They are high-tech systems. They cannot be replicated by koi ऐसे XYZ नहीं replicate. There are few players in the world which will do it. That was mandated to come in by March 2026. For whatever reason, that has got extended to March 27, right? But see, the point is that a lot of these regulations are coming in. Beneficiaries will be players like ZF. ZF ke, if I get my numbers right, Aaj is about 45 to 50,000 rupees, mota, which is there. their components which go into a commercial vehicle. That over a period of time, by 2030, is likely in each vehicle to go up to closer to 90,000 rupees per vehicle. So you have a wider market you are, because you're putting at LCVs too, and you have a higher component. Well, you have a higher, let us say, value in each vehicle. So that's the sort of tailwind we are looking. That's a regulatory tailwind which is coming, and that regulatory tailwind we believe, and that's as you've seen, as the country develops, there's more focus on safety, etc., etc. So that's the sort of thing which we have. That's what we mean transformative growth, meaning normal growth to आएगी ZF में, right? वो जो है by normal volume, but you have this regulatory thing also which should help, and over and above whatever could happen for exports and all. That's one story.
So इसका मतलब ZF में इन्वेस्ट कर दें और एज अ लॉन्ग टर्म रख दें थोड़ा सा पैसा आपके रिकमेंडेशन के हिसाब से.
Sir, I will not say that. We own the company. I am also an investor in a company. See, and anything, I always look at it this way. See, everything has to be seen from a portfolio perspective. What I mean by a portfolio, sits there, people say, what's your favorite stock? I say, boss, कोई favorite नहीं होता है. There is, मतलब, it's like a cricket team में. मतलब, there will be आपके पास मतलब वीरेंद्र सहवाग भी होगा, एक द्रविड़ भी होगा, एक you have everybody in your team.
Yes.
You don't have, and that's what makes the team. So you'll have some maybe a little more aggressive, some slightly different, but that's what puts it together. There is no,
और कोई प्लेयर किसी मैच में चलेगा, कोई प्लेयर किसी
मैच में चलेगा, कोई इनिंग्स में वही
चलिए. अब आप देखते हैं your another sector that you are kind of a favorite sector of yours, that is media,
right?
And we see DB Corp, we see Intellect.
Correct.
So media से आपका क्या लगाव है?
Okay. So let me I get this question and you have been very polite, but people say, यार आप क्या मरे हुए इंडस्ट्री में जा रहे हो यार, it's history.
और अगर हम अभी हम रिटर्न्स भी देखें, अगर इन दोनों स्टॉक्स की भी, तो पिछले एक साल में फ्लैट हैं.
Okay.
So उसके बावजूद भी you are there with them. तो there has to be some kind of a logic or rationale.
So let me explain. Yeah, it's good that you brought it out, and of course I may just add here in jest that flat होना ये market में बहुत बड़ी चीज है. but anyway.
Flat is preserving the capital.
But anyway, so let's start. So DB Corp is Dainik Bhaskar Group. Everybody knows it. मतलब they are a leading player. आप समझ लो हिंदी heartland में जो कहते हैं, which is they are the dominant player. They are also number 2 in Punjab. They are number 2 in Gujarat and Maharashtra in terms of the newspapers. So they are newspapers is also a sort of winner take all business, so that the winner, whoever is the biggest player. So English में Times Group होगा, right? Kerala में Malayalam Rama होगा. They get the ad revenue, they get cash flow, they are the profitable guys. So when you look at it, it is a very well run company. It has grown in a very, very difficult industry over the last many years. Cash flow अच्छी है, cash on books अच्छा है, ROE अच्छा है, there's no debt, etc., etc. But question is then where is the growth, right? That's what you're buying it. So let's put it this way. What is being valued today? So today it is at 10-11 PE, right? Dividend yield है 6%, right? So today people are pricing that you're getting this dividend yield and growth कुछ 5-7% आएगा per annum. So dividend yield plus this आपका 10% निकल जाएगा, which is not bad, but that's what it's being priced for. But अब story कहाँ पर है? What do they have? They have content, right? So now let's put it this way. One is that over the last very many years, they've been working very hard on the digital side, right? So they have since 2019 actually spent a lot on creating digital assets. So if you see their apps, etc., they are quite I think quite incredible, and they are more in the form of shorts, etc. So the more shorts, reels, more visual than reading, so to speak, for their audience. They're doing the right thing. They've got
बिल्कुल सही, because अब हम जो देख रहे हैं that the generation that is coming in now is not wanting to have a physical paper in hand and read. It's all digital.
It's all digital. So they've done that. All this expense they've already got. I think it is 22 lakh monthly average users, which is the largest in the regional media. I think it'll be probably largest in even the English media, but I'm not so sure of that one. But they're already there. All of this expense which is done is through the P&L. There is nothing on the balance sheet. So they've put serious amount of investment there and done that. That could be monetized. अब ये भी ठीक है, इसमें कोई बड़ी बात नहीं है, यू कुड से ऑफ कोर्स दे गॉट ग्रेट कंटेंट, दैट इज़ बड़ी बात. अब व्हाट इज़ मोस्ट इंटरेस्टिंग इज़ द फॉलोइंग. व्हेन यू सी इट, एंड अगेन दिस इज अनदर थिंग, लेट्स से यू वांट सम इन्फॉर्मेशन, आप क्या करोगे, फ़ोन निकालोगे, आप गूगल करोगे और कुछ आपको, चलिए यू विल गेट ट्रम्प साहब ने क्या बोला आपको ये कर, बट गूगल डिडंट गिव यू दैट इन्फॉर्मेशन, द कंटेंट इज समबडी एल्स, right? Now, there is enough legislation coming in the world, has come in many in the developed countries, which is saying that now the person creating the content has to be also compensated. Because एड डॉलर किसके पास जा रहा है, गूगल के पास जा रहा है, राइट? अगर हम ये आपने ये यूट्यूब पे डाला, कंटेंट तो आपका है, YouTube is monetizing it. What are you earning out of it? It's that sort of thing. But there is enough regulation which is coming in the world, which is stating now that the person who has the content and has to be compensated. That's already started happening in a small way, and it is only going to increase. It is only going to increase. The second thing which is there, which is the an extension of this, if you see, अब AI क्या है? AI आप कुछ भी करोगे तो आपको कुछ बोलते रहे, AI पे मेरे को रिपोर्ट मिलेगा, बट वो डेटा किसका है? वो इन्फॉर्मेशन तो आपका है ना, मतलब दी कंटेंट प्रोवाइडर, इट इज़ सम न्यू, इट कुड बी टाइम्स ग्रुप, दैनिक भास्कर, न्यूयॉर्क टाइम्स, वट एवर. सो अगेन देर इज दिस थिंग इज गोइंग ऑन इन द US, बिकॉज US में ये सब पहले होता है. The case of, let's put it this way, that AI also, if you're using it, if I use your content, I have to compensate you. So that will be over and above. Now how much that will come in what form? They are already getting some compensation, for example, on the digital platform from Google, etc. But how that will, let's put it this way, this is something only which will increase. That's not priced in today. So again, when we call about the transformative growth, in this is what we're saying, it's not just like a new age company. We see what's priced in is modest or no growth, while we see there is likely to be growth. And then it's a question of what's priced in. What are people paying for? What is the level of pessimism, or let us put it this way.
But क्या आप एक्चुअली में इन स्टॉक्स को या मीडिया एज अ सेक्टर को उस टाइम तक होल्ड कर पाएंगे, या
Okay, no,
या आपके इन्वेस्टर्स उस टाइम तक आपको होल्ड करने
see,
देंगे?
good question, because there is no, the question is, when will those earnings start to show through? If you say, tell me which quarter it will really start to make a difference, I know it's already contributing. When will it start to make a big difference? The honest answer is I don't know, right? And I don't think anyone does, beyond a point. But we do believe that you have to ultimately see, investment in many ways is the probabilistic game. It's not a precise game, right? No one knows, because what is investment? Investment is predicting the future, right? People, when they say na, मेरी EPS estimate 12.24 rupees है, मैं सोचता हूँ भाई 2 साल बाद 12.24 रुपीज़ कैसे देगा? When I myself don't know 2 हफ्ते बाद मैं क्या करूँगा मुझे नहीं पता. आप इतना प्रिसाइज कर रहे हो. So you can only get magnitude and direction right. You cannot get preciseness right. I think preciseness is almost wasted to try to get that right. You just have to get that big picture right. And in that, we believe it will come. Honestly, how long it may take? 1 साल हो गया. It may take another year. But at this point in time, we see less downside, more upside, right? जैसे आपने कहा ना, 1 साल में जितना गंद मार्केट का होना था वो आपको दिख रहा है. Still held up, right? So
now, the 2026.
Yeah.
So we're sitting in January 26 now.
Right.
And we see that we've come through a phase which was flattened.
Correct.
For the entire year, and there was a lot of hue and cry about it, and especially the fund managers had to face the heat because of that flatness.
Right.
Okay. So 2026 में आपको क्या दिख रहा है? Is it going to be the year of growth? Is it going to be the year of having good returns on the table? Will it better your track record? Any factors that will play in 26 that you see are going to be the star performers in this year?
Okay, so let me tell you on which I have far more confidence. So I have high confidence that India will grow well, very high confidence. I have good confidence that our companies will do very well also. Okay. The thing on which one has, to say precisely how the market will do, because fundamentals तो है, I am confident कि वो आएंगे, they will come through. for a lot of companies and including companies, I believe in our portfolio. But market at this point also, when you look at the global environment, is affected by a lot of things. I mean, you know what is going on.
The geopolitical tension,
हाँ जी, हाँ जी.
Venezuela, the
सब कुछ, हाँ.
the
मतलब
Greenland.
हाँ.
Okay, so we are seeing a lot of works going on in the geopolitical
एकदम
scenario.
मतलब
But India is looking immune to it.
I believe we are. I believe we are. But see, there is one thing. India's direct linkage with the fundamentals is lower. For whatever reason. जैसे US ने tariff भी डाल दिया, but when you look at our exports, it's not कि बहुत बुरा कुछ impact हुआ है, because we managed reasonably well. But the impact on two things. One is flows and one is sentiment. Those things are there. जैसे अगर आपको याद है GFC में जब हुई थी 2007-8 में, direct linkage to what is happening in the world बहुत कम था, but our market fell. Why did our market fall? Because the linkage was to the flows, right? So that linkage is to flows and sentiment hai. So if you have issues of what's happening in the globe, which is there, and you know what is going on, we don't need to get into it, which is there is enough of tamasha going on a daily basis. So it is great for entertainment, but not very good from a portfolio perspective. So when you look at that, those things can have an impact and can continue to put pressure on the market. So for example, जैसे trade deal आप कह रहे हैं. Now, trade deal, whatever one's view on the trade deal is, the fact that it hasn't happened also is, so to speak, an overhang, right? So to speak, an overhang. Fundamental impact, maybe whatever it is. But so those sort of sentimental factors, those sort of will may be an overhang, right? So therefore, to put it this way, to answer your question, I think 2026 will be better from certainly an earnings growth perspective. However, how it does from, really price performance is a function of a lot of other things. देखिए, just वो जो, if I was to borrow Ray Dalio's term, he says, in the world when there is an existing power, which is US, and there is a rising power, which is China, right? And he goes, of course, back into history. Earlier you had, पहले जब Cold War थी, तो there was bipolar world. फिर unipolar हो गया, it was only US. अब फिर से now you have multipolar, because कोई एक बॉस नहीं है, so to speak, right? तो एक बॉस नहीं है, तो सब इधर उधर से, कभी ईरान कुछ करता है तो कभी
बट ट्रम्प साहब तो ये कह रहे हैं कि मैं ही बॉस हूँ पूरे वर्ल्ड का.
अब सर अपना व्यू मैं क्या बोलूँ यार मैं क्या बोलूँ. So but the fact is that in such a world there is bound to be more volatility, which is also showing in the prices of commodities like precious metals primarily, right? So it is only a reflection of what is happening in the rest of the world.
So I want to understand,
हाँ जी.
जो investors अभी sideline पे बैठे हैं because of the 2025 flatness.
Yes.
Now, are you recommending कि they should come in, jump in now? Now is the right time? अगर जो कुछ लोग होते हैं जो एक सिक्योर्ड इन्वेस्टमेंट की तरफ चले जाते हैं, और कुछ लोग होते हैं जो अपनी इन्वेस्टमेंट को विड्रॉ करके कहीं और डाल देते हैं.
करेक्ट.
क्या ये सही टाइम है इक्विटीज में आने का?
See, let me put it this way. The time, firstly, of course, it is a function of one's overall asset allocation, etc., which I will leave it to advisors like yourself to, in that overall portfolio, of where to advise. But if one is looking at equity, this is a fairly good time, for the reason that अब जब दुख है, दर्द है, राइट, तो आप नहीं आओगे अभी तो कब आओगे, राइट? द प्राइस ऑफ वो जो कहते हैं ना, यू वांट सर्टेनिटी, देन यू पे अ हायर प्राइस, राइट? क्वेश्चन मार्क है, दुख है, तो इसलिए तो व्हेन देयर इज सर्कमस्पेक्शन एक्सेट्रा, दैट टाइम इज ऑलवेज अ बेटर टाइम. सो फ्रॉम दैट पर्सपेक्टिव, येस, मैं ये नहीं कह रहा हूँ कि कूद के एवरीबडी शुड ड्रॉप एवरीथिंग एंड कम, एंड अगेन इट फिट्स इनटू द ओवरऑल एसेट एलोकेशन एक्सेट्रा. But as a timing, it's a fairly good time, right? It's a fairly good time to be coming in, as long as one is, let's say, doing things in moderation, right? As long as one is doing things in moderation. Specifically in transformative growth strategy, because of the nature of strategy, we always tell people, in fact, we have a nice little chart which we call it suitability, that this is not a portfolio which moves in line with the benchmark, right? We say because of the nature of the portfolio. We do believe we will deliver strongly, but we, with those caveats, with everything known, it's a fairly good time. It's a fairly good time. But sorry, just on this, I'm not making a case for koi runaway teji, etc. At least we don't think that will happen, but it's a good time. Yeah. You're closer to the end maybe than the closer to then the beginning.
तो आपने अभी मेटल्स की बात करी कि मेटल्स में बहुत तेजी रही है. गोल्ड और सिल्वर तो द होल वर्ल्ड इज टॉकिंग अबाउट.
करेक्ट.
ओके, बट मैं ये जानना चाहता हूँ कि जब मैंने आपका पोर्टफोलियो देखा और उस पे रिसर्च किया, तो मुझे कहीं पर भी मेटल्स का कोई प्रेजेंस नहीं दिखाई दिया. मुझे ETFs का कोई प्रेजेंस नहीं दिखाई दिया, और मुझे मिनरल बेस्ड कंपनीज का कोई प्रेजेंस, सिग्निफिकेंट प्रेजेंस नहीं दिखाई दिया.
बिल्कुल ठीक.
सो आपका जो एक्सपीरियंस है वो निप्पॉन इंडिया के साथ रहा है, जो कि मेटल्स के, कमोडिटीज के एक बादशाह माने जाते हैं पूरे इंडिया में.
बिल्कुल.
सो ये मिसमैच बाय चांस हो गया या ये एक स्ट्रैटेजी के अंतर्गत था?
Okay, so let me explain. We can get into the commodities part later, but just first to answer. See, we have the portfolio which we are currently offering to investors is what we call the transformative growth portfolio. The nature of that product, which is buy and hold, and the type of stocks we are buying, typically metals, I won't say doesn't fit in, but is less likely to fit in because of the volatility we are trying to buy at that point in time. So it is not that we have anything against metals. In fact, in other portfolios, right, which we are incubating, which we will take to the market, one is on the investment theme, which we believe very strongly in. Usme metals hai. We have that, right? That's not, we've incubated it, we've used our own money. What we mean by incubated, putting our own money, build a track record, then go out and showcase it to our investors, right? Usme metals hai. So we are, it's not that we don't have, right? We do. It's more what is appropriate for a strategy. Let's put it that way.
Okay. So, आपको क्या लगता है जो अभी ये यूफोरिया बना हुआ है गोल्ड के अराउंड, सिल्वर के अराउंड, ये यूफोरिया रियलिस्टिकली आगे क्या दिखेगा? Do we actually see silver going to 4 lakhs, 5 lakhs, or do we see a kind of a correction coming here? और आपको लगता है कि ये सिर्फ जियोपॉलिटिकल सिनेरियो की वजह से है या इसमें कोई अंडरलाइंग स्टेटमेंट भी है?
Okay, so for this we'll have to break gold and silver because they are two completely, well, I say different things. Both are precious metals but different. So see, gold is driven of course by jewelry, which is primarily India, China as the main markets, and post 2020 it's always been there by central banks, but post 2022, the Ukraine Russia war, when the Biden administration seized Russia's reserves, if you remember, 300 billion. If you see, post that move has always been there. Post that, the amount of gold which is being bought by central banks, every central bank in the world, including India, right, has increased dramatically. Every bank. That is one reason.
Because that is because of the fear that something wrong may happen with any
various reasons. See, to extent that prior to that also this was happening, because if you see the developed countries, all developed countries, their balance sheets look worse than emerging markets. So for example, today I believe India's overall numbers look better than a lot of developed countries. Because those guys have been behaving, actually they are supposed to be capitalist but behaving like socialist. भाई ले लो, सब फ्री ले लो, सब फ्री ले लो. अब कोविड पे टाइम पे तो पैसे बांट रहे थे, घर पे बैठे भाई बांट रहे, right? India didn't do that, right? Now, the point being, so there is a debasement of currency, call it deed. So one is the debasement of currencies. All currencies are getting less valuable because you know what is currency? It's ultimately, well, other than it's paper in one way, but it's a belief that it holds value. But when you start questioning whether it holds value is one part. Two is then this de-dollarization theme, which is because of various acts, which are going on even currently of the, let us call it, of the US government, which is, well, the most powerful country in the world, people feel maybe you are less safe with holding a dollar. Kal kya hoga, pata nahi na. And I said that was, I think, one very big trigger, if you see.
So do you also believe in that dollar decline that should be coming?
Sir, dekhiye, see, it is again, you know, everything works in cycles. Every country has its rise fall. UK का था, उसके पहले फ्रांस का था, डच का था, सबका नंबर तो सबका आता है, so to speak, right? And it is very clear that whether US declines completely, etc., I am not that equipped to say, but it is very clear that they are having their challenges, and there is another country which is China, which is also growing and challenging them in many ways. Technology is one of them, right? A very big way, because of course US still continues to be dominant on technology, which is very, very important thing, but China is also doing just as well, if not better, right? So those things will continue, and when you have that sort of a situation, that de-dollarization is a process which will, people want to hedge them bets. अब मुझे डॉलर नहीं लेना है, येन नहीं लेना है, मुझे पाउंड नहीं लेना है, यूरो नहीं लेना है, तो भाई मैं क्या लूँ? तो ऑल टाइम फेवरेट तो है गोल्ड, राइट? तो गोल्ड इज वेल ग्लोबल करेंसी.
आज तो सिल्वर गोल्ड से ज़्यादा फेवरेट हो रहा है.
हाँ, बट सिल्वर इज स्लाइटली डिफरेंट इन द सेंस दैट सी, इफ़ यू सी, देखिए अब सिल्वर कर रहे हैं, बट ये सिल्वर की भी कहानी 6 महीने पुरानी. अगर 6 महीने में देखो कुछ ऑलमोस्ट 150-170% ऊपर गया. Prior to that, of course, it also moved up, but not like this, right? Ab silver, so gold demand, a lot of the incremental demand for gold is coming from central banks, right?
Correct.
In silver, the case is different. 60% of silver is industrial use.
Yes.
60% of silver is industrial use. And the balance is about 20% jewelry and 20% sort of artifacts, कुछ silver का ये वो कर दिया. Right? And supply is, there is mining and recycling. दोनों में होता है. Okay. Now in the case of, when you look at the case of let's say silver, the industrial part जो हो रहा है ना, that part, what you're seeing on the industry part is increasing. It has been increasing a lot, because as the world is getting more electrified, right? And a lot of the big usage of it is in your solar cells. And जैसे solar cells, especially China dominated है, etc., you know, that is a big demand driver for that. Supply is lower. So वो तो है. Of course, see, the other thing which you have to see, देखिए in today's world what has happened, what has driven it up, but nothing in the industry changed कि in the last 6 महीने में इतनी डिमांड बढ़ गई. वो क्या होता है, as you know, लोगों का equity में पैसा नहीं बन रहा है, तो भाई जाओ सट्टा करो, किसी और में करो, right? तो वही है ना, speculative demand है. A lot of it is speculative demand. So I'm not saying there is no fundamental demand for silver or something. Please don't get me wrong.
Yeah,
or gold.
सिल्वर की अगर फंडामेंटल डिमांड की बात करें, तो if we see EV cars,
right?
Okay, yeah, not only silver, let's say हम metals की बात करें या precious
ठीक
metals की बात करें, EV car में the use of copper,
Yes.
nickel,
Yes.
graphite, lithium
Yes.
is approximately 200 kgs per
Yes.
car.
Yes.
And the way EV cars is growing, and they're capturing what 25% of the car total car market now. 25. Okay, in 2025 it's 25% of the total market, and the way it is growing, I think the demand for commodities is not going to stop soon.
You are correct. Okay, it is not. It will increase. There is no doubt. And you combine it with what has happened is that for various reasons, the developed countries especially, basically, they have gone easy on the mining part. अगर आप देखो तो, for example, I'm just saying, steel is not steel. US has stopped making basic steel. They stopped many years ago because गंदा काम है भाई, किसको करना है? यूरोप में भी यही हो रहा है, right? So it's left to, well, more developed countries, right? And in the focus on the quality ESG part, there has been less supply response, so to speak. So supply is constrained, और जो supply है वो ज़्यादा China के पास है, which you will, okay. And obviously they are also playing their hand. They are a very smart country this way. They are. So what you are mentioning is correct. So there is a lot of fundamental demand. I'm not taking that away, but I'm just saying what is added on the edge is the speculative element also which comes in, right?
Absolutely.
So for
yes.
example, with silver अगर आप देख लीजिएगा तो from a fundamental perspective, so silver में बिल्कुल बढ़ रहा है demand, right? इसमें कोई नहीं है, demand supply gap भी है, but from a fundamental perspective, nothing has changed so much कि in the last 6 months 170% increase होना चाहिए.
Yes,
right?
absolutely.
और आप देखिए आज fall भी था, right?
Yes.
तो ये and silver is a extremely volatile commodity. So all I'm saying is demand है. आप बिल्कुल ठीक बोल रहे हो. For reasons of underinvestment and for reasons for greater usage of let us call it minerals and so on, in a lot of the electrification, whether it is, this is one part of but the overall electrification process, because as more and more things are getting electrified, the metals will be used, and there is a shortfall for it, which is driving up commodity prices. Also with dollar weakening, typically commodity price get priced in dollars, so in rupee terms it will go up for us.
Fair
right?
enough.
Okay, so all those reasons it is there, but just one thing I will say. See, and at this point it doesn't sound, it'll sound silly, but क्या होता है, these things do happen at points in time. But technology always has a way of finding substitutes, etc. Right? If you look at it, this is not the first time this has happened. Same thing, there will be, even if you see there was a commodity super cycle between, let us say, till 2007-8. From 2002 to 2007-8, all commodities had gone through the roof. Uske baad kya hua? Right? It's not as if, so these things go for various reasons, they get highlighted. When prices of anything gets too high, typically substitutes also come. There may be no perfect substitute, but you find some workaround, etc., etc. So unlikely to be a one-way street, and probably given the sharp rise in some of it, right? You probably in the short term seen the best of it. I repeat, short term. Longer term तो वो तो होना ही है, especially gold, because see, gold is a very much a function of what would you call
A security of having your assets
और अब
with
इस जिस दुनिया में है जहाँ कोई देश का president can be picked up overnight and taken there, you say भाई सब, because you see, look at it this way, technically what stops the US from saying, and they've done it before, कि we will default on our debt, we owe you money ना, we default. Right? So क्या करोगे?
So क्या कर लोगे?
हाँ, क्या करोगे आप? आके झगड़ा करोगे? आओ.
एक तरह का bulliness शुरू हो गया, एक तरह का गुंडा राज शुरू हो गया, is what you were saying. Yeah.
So in that environment, whatever be, so various things put together. See, it is not one event. It is a series of events, and it is things happening over a period of time, which lead one to then say कि अब, this is from central bank perspective, इतने रिजर्व्स मैं क्यों होल्ड करूं डॉलर में, राइट? विच इज़ व्हाट एवरी सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट इज सेइंग, राइट? थोड़ा गोल्ड भी ले लो, थोड़ा बढ़ा दो, या इंक्रीमेंटल, अगर मैं इंक्रीमेंटल मैं ना लूँ, इंक्रीमेंटल मैं कहीं और डाल दूँ, यू नो, दैट सॉर्ट ऑफ अ थिंग विच इज़ हैपनिंग, एंड विच इज़ व्हाट इज़ हैपनिंग, विच इज़ ड्राइविंग, एंड विच इज़ ड्राइविंग, let us say, at least the gold part up. Silver is a different story. I told that's more related to industry.
Absolutely. Point taken.
Yeah.
So we want to understand, Shahzad sir, आपके इतना vast experience है. You have seen different market cycles. 1992, Harshad Mehta, 2000, Ketan Parekh, and the dot-com bubble. 2008, the global financial crisis. 2018, the entire financial setup. 2020 COVID, 2022 Ukraine, 2024 the lack of momentum coming in and crashing the market. So what is it that our investor, maybe he's a retail investor, maybe he's a direct equity investor, क्या देखना चाहिए? How do you predict a fall? और क्या indicators हैं जो हमें बताते हैं कि अब ये fall आने वाला है?
As in a fall, what would predict a fall in the market?
Yes.
See, one, I think the most important thing which always happens is overstretched valuations, right? That is the, now question is, what is overstretched is a very, very, is subjective, right? It's not very precise. But when you have valuations which are excessive, right, typically there is a reason which you find out later. वो मतलब रीजन बाद में आता है, बट वो करेक्शन हो जाती है.
So जब हम कह रहे हैं वैल्यूएशन, तो हम पीई की बात करें?
हाँ, आप सी, यू पी इज वन मेजर ऑफ इट. यू कैन डू whatever else you choose to. You could see वो जो वॉरेन बफेट इंडिकेटर रहते हैं, मार्केट कैप टू जीडीपी कह लो, आप प्राइस बुक देख लो, मतलब देयर आर वेरियस थिंग्स यू कैन ट्राई टू सी हाउ इट लुक्स लाइक. सो व्हेन वैल्यूएशंस आर एक्सेसिव, टिपिकली थिंग्स मॉडरेट, राइट? So here, for example, so that is the way it's generally that. And typically, when valuations are very cheap, market finds a reason to go up. जैसे कोविड में भी वैल्यूएशंस चीप थे, एंड ऑफ कोर्स देयर वाज अ लॉट ऑफ सपोर्ट फ्रॉम ऑल गवर्नमेंट, सम सेंट्रल बैंक गवर्नमेंट एक्सेट्रा. मार्केट फाइंड्स अ वे टू गो अप, राइट? एंड देन मार्केट अनफॉर्चुनेटली नेवर स्टेज एट व्हाट इज रीजनेबल. इट ऑलवेज गेट्स ओवर. मार्केट्स स्क्रिजोफेनिक ना, या तो बहुत ऑप्टिमिस्टिक होती है या बहुत पेसिमिस्टिक होती है. टुडे वी आर मोर ऑन द पेसिमिस्टिक साइड, व्हिच इज ऑलवेज गुड न्यूज़.
Which is good news for us.
Which is always good news for us. So ठीक है, so that's that. So honest, very difficult to precisely say, and very often you find out with post hindsight. And then see some which events which are very difficult to predict. जैसे अब कोविड था, so if you look at it when we entered 2020, everything looked okay. थोड़े से मरमर थे एंड दिसंबर में चाइना में कुछ है, बट ऐसे फेब 2020 आई रिमेंबर सब कुछ मतलब बंद हो जाएगा, ऐसा तो कोई मतलब अभी मैं आपको कहता या कोई भी आपको कहता बोले क्या बकवास कर रहे हो यार, ऐसे थोड़ी होता है. बट दिस इज लिटरली व्हाट हैपेंड. So those things are very difficult to predict, and I would say almost impossible to predict. But other than that, it's primarily valuations or something. Now, in today's world, with so much of, you know what is going on in today's world, the geopolitical issues है, क्या मतलब तमाशा ही चल रहा है, आप देख लो. अब कुछ उसके कारण कुछ हो सकता है, या in the mother market being US में, you have some problems on account of, let's put it this.
Our investors should be careful about the valuations and what's happening in the geopolitical scenario.
See, which is always, see, equity का क्या है कि it is one thing which is impacted by everything in the world, right? अगर आप equity देख लो तो anything in the world impacts us. अभी पुतिन क्या कहेगा, मोहम्मद बिन सलमान क्या करेगा, वो सब का हमारे पे कोई असर तो कुछ ना कुछ तो होता ही है. So which of course makes our job, which I believe is the most interesting job in the world. मतलब because there's so much there's always something happening. There's no dull moment in our life, right? But so coming back to our question, there are a lot of this going on, and that's more because of the way the world is, and there are two competing superpowers, etc. It becomes a little more challenging at this point in time to be able to, you can't precisely predict, but that increases uncertainty, which therefore means people then say, I want more safety, which means a lower valuation. वैसे ही हो जाता है. That's the way it works.
Okay, so for our investors, so we see that a lot of the young brigade now,
Right.
18 years
Right,
onwards, they are into investing, whether
Correct.
they're doing direct equities
Correct.
or they're doing the
Correct.
SIPs or they're doing
Correct,
mutual
correct.
funds,
Correct.
Whatever. What is your advice to them? How should they structure their thought towards wealth creation so that when they reach age of 25, 35, 45, they see a considerable wealth being created for them?
Okay. So let me put it this way, जो Warren Buffett साहब ने कहा ना, the eighth wonder of the world is compounding. So if one has the discipline of just staying there and just saying, let my money compound, that itself will be good enough. So the most important thing is to stay the course, right? कि उथल पुथल तो आएगी, that's a part of life. But you just stay there. If you stay there, and I'm sure everybody knows the math, that you stay there, it'll just compound even at 10-11% per annum. Over a period of time, your corpus becomes very, very significant. So the most important thing, I think, is that stay the course, be disciplined, right? अब youth है तो देखो वो क्या कहता है, कुछ तो ट्राई तो करेगा ही करेगा, नहीं तो यूथ कैसे होगा ना. मतलब यूथ हो तो मतलब वो जवानी की भूल नहीं करे तो फिर यू डोंट लूज मनी, यू डोंट डू समथिंग स्टूपिड, देन दैट्स नॉट यूथ, राइट?
So it's good to lose money when you
when you can, थोड़ा सीख लो, छोटा पैसा, वो तो होते रहता है सबके साथ, एंड that will happen, and in many ways it's better it happens earlier than later, right? But that was of course said more in jest, और वो तो होगा. देखो आप जितना भी किसको यंग गाय को कहो ना, ये मत करना, वो मत करना, अरे वो करेगा यार, वो तो बच्चा है तो करेगा ना. तो that's okay. But the more important thing in general, stay disciplined, stay long term, and that's it really.
पैसा कहाँ लगाएं? ठीक है, डिसिप्लिन भी हो गए, लॉन्ग टर्म भी हो गए, कंपाउंडिंग को भी देख रहे हैं, पर अभी पैसा लगाएं कहाँ? वो 18 साल, 20 साल, 25 साल का यूथ जिसके पास एक लिमिटेड मनी है, लिमिटेड रिसोर्सेज है, मे बी पेरेंट्स आर बैकिंग देम अप, दैट्स फाइन.
हाँ, बट ठीक है. सो सी द आंसर इज, let me put it this way. Equity selects itself, okay? And let me tell you why it selects. So while one is the asset allocation part, so when I leave it to, of course, like advisors like yourself, and that as a young person they can do more in equity. It of course depends on everybody's financial position, but मैं generically कह रहा हूँ, equity selects itself. Because when you look at, one of the things which has happened is, which is also getting a lot of money into equity, is that the taxation जो आप कहो ना, debt वाली taxation जो है, on a post-tax return, आपको debt में कितना मिलता है? It's very difficult for anybody. आप बैंक FD में डाल दीजिएगा, म्यूचुअल फंड डेट वाले में डाल दीजिएगा, पोस्ट टैक्स, राइट? आई एम नॉट गेटिंग इनटू हाई यील्ड क्रेडिट फंड में डाल दीजिएगा, दैट्स नॉट फॉर द यूथ, लेट्स पुट इट दिस वे. आपका पोस्ट टैक्स आप 4%, you know, and do you believe an equity SIP cannot do better than 4%? I would think so, right? So equity selects itself partly on account of the tax part. So if you especially stay there, because वो taxation लगेगा only when you exit. So, you know, it's something which you can postpone your tax, so to speak, unlike in debt where you keep paying the tax. So I would think so. I mean, obviously, given the uncertainty, then a little bit in gold, but that's on the margin, right? The maximum compounding over a longer period of time can be done in the equity market, which is what it is, and over a long period of time. I think
So
that's
that
your
means
best bet.
SIPs and mutual fund is a
SIPs and mutual
good way
funds
to
is,
start.
I think, is the best way to start. I think it's the best way from a perspective of discipline and so on. And yeah, it's the best way. और ऊपर जाएगा, नीचे जाएगा, ये सब तो होगा. That's a part of the journey. And you just got to be there. हाँ, अगर वो नहीं हुआ तो मज़ा कैसे आएगा?
So that was wonderful talking to you, Shahzad ji, and I'm sure that with this conversation, our viewers will have a lot of insight on what is happening in 2026 and what is going to unfold in the geopolitical scenario, and how an investor should be working. So it's been a delightful experience. So we would like to end this episode with a rapid fire for you.
Okay.
And the thing is that you have to answer in one word.
Arre baap re.
Whatever comes to your mind is so that we take your reflex mind action and capture it for us.
Okay.
So you will not get time to think. Yeah.
Okay.
So can we start?
Okay.
Okay. Best sector.
I would the investment theme and everything which goes with that. Yeah.
So which sector?
I would say manufacturing, capital goods. That is the sector which I think will be the best sector. Yeah.
Okay. So if you to pick one stock for the year.
Sir, एक stock से तो नहीं होगा because it's portfolio. I think portfolio होने का.
Okay. Nifty in 2026 December.
Higher from here. I mean,
that's a diplomatic answer. Everyone knows it will be higher from here.
Honestly, very difficult to say, but higher from here. You know, and our model especially is bottom-up stock picking. So, you know, we don't see so much in terms of Nifty target, but should be higher.
Okay. Silver, December 26.
Not much higher from here. Probably lower.
Probably lower.
Probably.
So that's
likely lower. Yeah. Likely lower, but I don't know so much about silver.
December 26, Trump in Greenland.
अब US visa cancel करवाओगे भाई साहब? I don't think it'll happen.
So that's been wonderful talking to you, Shahzad ji, and I wish you all the best for TCG, and wish you all the best for all the investors. May you keep making the returns for them, and have a great year ahead. Have a great decade here again, and let the wealth compound. Like you said, that it's the eighth wonder of the world.
Right.
So wishing you all the best.
Well, thank you so much, Narendra. This has been wonderful. I mean, most important to me, it's been fun, right? And it's been a great conversation, great fun. Thank you for having me, and all the best to you two guys. You guys are doing a great job, and do continue to do that, because if we serve our investors, investor khush hai, to we have Jannat with us.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your time, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. Take care. Bye.
So, friends, we come to a close to this wonderful episode, and I'm sure that a lot of insights have come from this conversation, and you benefit in any which ways from this. Okay, keep logged on to Returns and Beyond's podcast channel, and do subscribe, and do give us comments on how we are doing. Yeah, thank you so much for logging in. So we've had a wonderful podcast, but would like to say that a small disclaimer that all the things that we have said is for educational purposes, and the viewers, the investors are requested and instructed to please take your own decisions while you're investing